Start. So the today's webinar is talking about the understanding governance, risk management, and compliance in cybersecurity. Let me put on the agenda for today's webinar. One second. Yeah. So we'll discuss about the introductions about GRC and how GRC works together with an organizations. Then why GRC required in the organizations, because nowadays every organization is facing the attacks, then data breaches and so on. And the common GRC challenges when implementing the compliance or risk management and governance. Then importance of technical knowledge in GRC, then GRC rules. So we'll move on to the introduction part. Guys, please let me know if you are facing any my voice is not audible means please let me know, I can check it. So in the introduction part, so as you guys are aware about, right, cyber security, information security, but not that much aware about the GRC part, right? So the today cyber security is not longer about just about firewalls, antivirus or tools, because most organization has already used many security technologies, right? But incidents happen, audit issues happen, compliance gaps still happen, because the reason is simple. It's not just because the tools are missing. The main reason is lack of clarity, right? So let's say example, if any incident happened, right, if any issues happen, when something goes wrong, the incident, the teams often struggles with basic questions: who own the issues, who has the authority people to take the decisions, who is the responsible for fixing the issues. So when these answers are not clear, here the security becomes very confusing. Your business can be slow, and lack of which means business deals and so on. So that's why cybersecurity today is no longer only the IT problem. It has become a business problem, because it's directly affect the organization trust and organization's reputations and business continuity. So these are all the major problems recently organization has been facing. So let's think about from business point of view, right? So every leaders, right? Not every leaders don't want to see the technical dashboards or logs. So they want only the confidence with respect to the security, which means confidentiality, privacy, and integrity purpose. So they want to know that risks are understood, responsibilities are clear, and controls are actually working. So this is the major gaps between the security, technical securities and business expectations. So in that place where governance, risk management, and compliance becomes a very important part. So here, this is a very most important concept. GRC stands for. G stands for governance, R stands for risk management, C stands for the compliance. So GRC is often explained using the definitions, but in real life, it's more about how an organization's functions happen, right? So let's say GRC stands for which means set of rules, policies, operations that a company uses to achieve its business goals, which is nothing but, so let's say example, right? Which means to understand the governance better, right? So think about, right, hotel or restaurant. So if you want to if you have to go hotel or restaurant, definitely you can see the ISO certifications, right? So there are some clear rules about hygiene, food handling, and safety measures, something like that. So someone has to approve those rules, someone has to ensure they are followed, someone is responsible if there is violations. So if there is no clear ownership, everyone assumes someone else is taking care of it. So that's when problem happen. If an like in an organizations without governance, the security becomes everyone's responsibilities, which is usually means no one really wants it. So that's why the governance is very important thing. Who owns the data, who approves the policies, who accept the risk, who is accountable if something goes wrong. So that is known as the governance part. When it comes to the risk management, so risk is about understanding the uncertainty, which means because risk always occurred. Okay, risk will not be deleted permanently. Every organization has faced the risk related to technologies, related to people, related to vendors, related to day-to-day operations. So the risk management does not try to eliminate all the risk. The risk always exists, because that is no realistic, right? So instead, it helps an organizations identified which risk is very most important and what decisions need to take. That is known as the risk management activities. So in the risk management activities, there are lots of risk management framework is there. ISO 31000, NIST risk management framework, then NIST 853. There are lots of risk management framework is there. So the risk management is the one of the important context in the GRC. And the communication, sorry, complaints. Those complaints is nothing but it is talks about the proof, right? So which ensures the organizations follows the laws, regulations, contractual requirements. As you guys are aware about, right, in India, the DPDPA has been enacted, right, recently. So that is the Digital Privacy Regulations Act in India. So we need to understand the compliance part. So as an organization is able to shows the evidence that controls are in place and being followed. The frameworks like ISO 27001, SOC 2 Type 2, SOC 2 Type 1, GDPR, PDPL. There are lots of compliance framework is there based on region wise. Let's say example, if you are taking Europe region, right? So in the Europe region, GDPR privacy regulation is there. Similarly, in Singapore, Gulf related, Gulf region side, Saudi Arabia, right? PDPL. So in US, CCPA. So in India, DPDPA. So similarly, there are lots of regulations and frameworks is there. So as an organizations able to show the evidence that controls are in place, that is known as the compliance. So let's say example, same the food or hotel industries, right? When you walk into hotel or restaurant, you might see an ISO certificate displayed at the receptions or near the kitchen, right? So that certificate does not mean the food will always taste the food, but it tells you that certain hygiene and safety process are being followed consistently. So similarly, in cybersecurity perspective, the compliance in cybersecurity does not guarantee that an organizations will never face an incident. What it shows, if that organization has defined a process, follows them regularly, then it can provide the evidence when asked. So that is known as the compliance. Then how GRC works together. So GRC should not be seen as three separate activities. So the GRC works together. Let me give an detailed explanations for GRC works together. Like as I said earlier, right? GRC sets the directions by defining the policies, procedures, and responsibilities. So policies is nothing but, let's say example, if you have if you are joined new organizations, right? So the HR will be explaining the human resource security policies, induction trainings related policies, and employee handbook related policies. So the policies talks about the set the rules, right, defined by management. That is known as the policies. So similarly, the risk management, right? Risk management also checks those expectations against real world threats and weakness. So compliance then verifies the controls put in place, whether it is actually working or not as expected. That is known as the governance, risk management, and compliance. So, for example, right, let's take in one scenario, organization's perspective. So, if you are creating information security policies or password security policy or access control policy, so when management approves the policies, that is known as the governance part. When the teams identify the risk related to that policy, that is known as the risk management. When the evidence is collected to show that controls are followed or not, that is known as the compliance. So if governance is weak, the risks are ignored. Maybe if the risk management is weak, the compliance becomes it's a checklist and so on. If compliance is weak, there is no proof, right? So GRC becomes effective only when all three work together. So without compliance, without the governance and risk management will not work. Without governance, risk management and compliance will not work. So the governance, risk management, compliance, when all three work together, we can achieve the successfully GRC. Then the people process technologies, which means when we talk about the information security or GRC, right? So everything finally comes down to three things that is known as the people, process, and technology. Many organizations, right, think security is most about only technologies, but in reality, the technology alone can never protect an organization. So I'll give an example with let's start from people, right? So people are the ones, right, who take the decisions, who take who approve the access, who follow the rules and responding during the incidents, right? So even the best security tool can fail if people are not trained or aware. For example, employee, let's say example, if I'm sending the any phishing email to an organizations, the some random employees clicking in phishing email, right? It can cause more damage than missing security tool. So that's why here training, awareness, clear roles and responsibilities are so very important. So people bring judgment and accountability, which tools cannot replace. That is known as the people. When it comes to process, right? So process is talk about the consistency, which means it defines how the things should be done every time, not just once. For example, let's say if you are documenting any process for HR department, if you are documenting any process for finance department or sales department for access approval to ensure that no one gets system access without proper authorizations. So similarly, the incident response process, right? It ensures when something goes wrong. So the team knows exactly what to do instead of panicking. That is known as the process. So without process, the actions become ad hoc. So security depends on individuals rather than structures. That is known as the process. Finally, the technology, right? The technology support both process and the people, which means it helps enforce the rules, monitoring the users' activities, software's activities, and it provides the visibilities. So let's say example, right? Access management tool, which enforces the access policies and logging the system capture activity for investigations. And as you guys are aware about the GRC tools also there, right? Which helps track the risk activities and the compliance activities. So, however, the technology works very effectively only when people knows how to use it and the process define how it should be applied. That is known as the technology. So, if any one of these weak, the security will also be weak. The strong security happen only when people, process, technology work together in balance. The GRC always work based on the three pillars: people, process, and technology. We'll move on to the next one. So why GRC is required in the organizations? So organizations doesn't don't implement GRC just to satisfy auditors, because they do it because uncertainty. One, one second, guys. Yeah, sorry. So, because organization has facing the regulatory fines, customer loss, reputational damage, and operational downtime, all the issues has serious impact. So, even one answered security questionnaire it can delay or stop your business deals. So, GRC always helps leadership to clearly see what risk exist and which ones are acceptable or not acceptable, which one needs actions. So the GRC always helps translate the technical risk into business language. So it can be take the decisions very confidently and easily. So in this way, the GRC protect not just an IT system, but the entire organizations. That's why the GRC is required in the organizations. So I'll tell you the real time, so real world use cases with respect to the framework such as ISO 27001 and the SOC 2 Type 2, then vendor risk management, incident response. So how many of you are aware about ISO 27001, guys? Please reply via the chat. Am I audible? Okay, new to this topic. Thanks for the confirmation, Sri. Yeah. So yeah, let me explain with you, no issues. So ISO 27001, right? ISO stands for International Organization for Standardization 27001 2022, which is nothing but it is a information security management system framework. It is a structured way for managing the information security, which helps an organizations identify its important information assets, understand the risk around them, and put the controls in place. So that is known as the ISO 27001. It is an organization based like a compliance framework. So if any type of business, right, not only finance sector, not only SaaS based company, not only like any other like healthcare sector, if any kind of business can adapt to the ISO 27001 and SOC 2 type 2 service organizational control. It contains multiple types, type 1 and type 2. So SOC 2 is mainly used by service organizations, especially SaaS based companies, which means let's say example any cloud-based companies, right, to build the trust with customer, which shows the how an organizations protect the customer data over the period of time. So there are five trust principles in the SOC 2 type 2: security, privacy, then processing integrity, confidentiality, availability. So based on the five trust principle, as an organization is adopting the trust principle, they will be taking like choosing the SOC 2 type 1 and a type 2. And like SOC 1 and SOC 2 also there. That is a separate different context. And vendor risk management, vendor risk is talking about like understanding that organization security is not limited to its own system, because if you're onboarding any type of vendor, right? Let's say example, um, if I'm acting work as their HR department, right? HR manager. So I'll be recruiting candidates, right? So definitely the BGV, background verification control, is important for any type of compliance. So here, so I'll be choosing the third party vendor for background verifications. So because from my employees data has been shared with the background verification vendor. So before onboarding any vendors, right, with respect to BGV, with respect to payroll system, with respect to any other vendors, we need to conduct the due diligence for the vendors. Why means the reason behind that, we are storing like we are they are storing the data uh, with respect to our organizations, right? So that's why we need to conduct the vendor risk assessment or third party risk assessment to identify the vendors. The particular company has been storing our company data. So in that case, the due diligence will must conduct as per compliance recommendations. Once complete the vendor risk assessment, will identify the risk against that particular company. That is known as the vendor risk. So nowadays, privacy is very important, right? So that's why the privacy, with respect to privacy and confidentiality, then security perspective, the vendor risk assessment, vendor risk management is very important. And incident response. So incident response, right, as you're aware about, incident happened, maybe if any incident happened, right, in an organizations, the employees who must aware about, right, how to, inform to the particular, team leads or incident response team members, and how to respond the react to the incidents. So these are all the incident response activities. There are different technical terms is there, like containment, eradications, and root cause analysis, then lesson learning, incident response. So it is a very vast topic. But as per compliance recommendations, the incident response control is a very important point. If any incident facing organizations, how an employee will communicate to the respective team leads. So nowadays most of the organization has been using the incident management tools, which means incident ticketing tools. If you are startup, right, if you don't have more than 10 employees, right, so in that case, if you can use via the email. So based on the, let's say example, if you are implementing any controls, right, you can think about the cost perspective and risk perspective. That is very important, the GRC perspective. And the common GRC challenges, right? Even though GRC is very important, but many organizations struggle with it to implement the GRCs, because the GRC is treated as a documentation work instead of an ongoing process. So, Paul, even though if you are creating policies but never reviewed, even though if you are creating the risk registers or updated, but you only do the audits before the any like certifications, internal audit or external audit. And the management involvement also may be very limited, which makes it difficult for security teams to enforce the controls. And another common issues right nowadays for GRC challenges, the GRC, we need to maintain the few documents, right? So like a spreadsheets or Word document or something like that. It is very difficult for tracking the everything. So this makes very consistency and accuracy which means it is difficult. So there is also often communication gap between the technical teams and the GRC teams, which leads to the misunderstanding. So when these challenges exist, the GRC feels like very burden instead of a benefit. That these are all the common challenges. But most of the organization has using the GRC tools, and few organization has using the like manual way for maintaining the documentations with respect to Excel sheet, Word document, or PDF, any kind of documents. And what are all the important technical knowledges in GRCs, right? So many people think GRC is completely non-technical, but that is not true. It's very wrong. While GRC professionals are not expected to configure the systems, but they must understand how technology create the risk. That is a very important core concept. Without technical understanding, it is very hard to judge whether controls are effective. For example, let's take access management controls, right? So the understanding of access management control helps identify the risk related to the excessive permissions. So you have to understand the basic knowledge of cloud environments to identify the configurations and access related risk. So knowing the importance of loggings, which helps to evaluate the incident response readiness. So technical knowledge, which allows the GRC professionals to ask right questions with the customers, and to explain the risk to clearly with customers. Let's say example, you can assume, right? If I'm working as a consultant, if any customer will be onboarding for ISO 27001 compliance framework, the customer doesn't aware about the compliance, what is compliance, what is GRC, Okay, so in that case, without the technical knowledge, without understanding the basic informations about the GRC, cannot able to convey the which means ask the right questions and explain the risk in a better manner. That is the importance for technical knowledge in the GRCs. And what are all the careers roles in the GRCs? So GRC roles may differ across organizations, but the core work remains similar. So it includes assessing the risk, reviewing the policies, coordinating audits, collecting the evidences, reporting to the management. So the roles like GRC analyst, risk manager, compliance analyst, compliance officer, ISMS nothing but information security management system, which means ISO 27001, lead auditor, lead implementer, internal auditor, external auditor. So all the roles support governance and risk management activities. So let's say if you want to go with risk management team, there are different certification is there, C risk and ISO 31000. There are different framework is there with respect to risk management activities. If you want to go with compliance team, you need to learn ISO 27001 2022. That is a base for all the compliances, and SOC 2 type 1, type 2. Then there are lots of compliance framework is there. And if you want to go with, especially for privacy frameworks, you need to learn GDPR, PDPL, DPDPA. So these are all the roles across the organizations. And one more thing, the career transitions, right? Because most of the people came from different backgrounds, right? Including IT, then audit, quality, even non-technical field as well. So what matter most is clear, here, clear thinking. Then communications is very important because every day you need to communicate with your customers, right? Explaining the uh, like explaining the compliance activities and explaining the risk activities, and also you have to understand the risk. So the compliance GRC people always think about the risk perspective, not a documentations perspective, not a controls perspective. So always you guys think about the risk perspective. So you need to understand the documentation skills which can help with the transitions. So this is the career transitions to GRC and cybersecurity. In GRC, and the compliance, right? Compliance analyst, second point, right? The compliance analyst, there are different activities will happen. The compliance analyst, let's say example, if any customer will be onboarded, request looking for ISO 27001 or any other compliances, there are different activities will be happen. So I'll be given worry for how to implement the ISO 27001 compliance with internal audit and external audit, right? First, you can communicate with the customer to schedule the kickoff call, right? So, during the kickoff call, you can explain like organization's project plan and escalation matrix along with escalation matrix. So, escalation matrix is nothing but, let's say, facing customer has facing any issues or delayed happen from our end, right? Our end means audit, which means organization's end. So the customer will directly reach out to the level one contact. If level one not responding properly, customer will directly reach out to level two. Still level two also not responding properly. Level three also there. So these are all the escalation matrix. Similarly, customer also want to expect our escalation matrix. This is the first call with customer. Once complete the kickoff call, the second set of call is the business walkthrough call, which is nothing but to understand the customer business, which is nothing but without customers business knowledge, you cannot do anything, right? So to understand the customer's business, what they are expecting, which compliance they are expecting, whether it is ISMS or SOC 2 type 2. Maybe if already you are aware about ISMS means, you can directly ask the business walkthrough call. So once complete the business walkthrough call, we can initiate the gap assessment before. Maybe if company like organization has choosing the readiness assessment or gap assessment. So before readiness assessment and gap assessment, you need to confirm the scope. Scope is nothing but boundary, which locations will be added into the certificate and which department added into the certificate. Then which product will fall under the certificate. So these details we required to add the which means to proceed further for the particular compliance. Once confirm the get the confirmation with respect to scope, we'll move on to the readiness assessment. So readiness assessment is nothing but just to understand the high level context about the business, which means whether the organization has allowing the remote working policies, understand the infrastructures, whether it is hybrid model or a on-prem model, or a cloud model, then how many employees are currently working, and what kind of business they are doing. Just to understand the business at high level, that is known as the readiness assessment. Then once complete the readiness assessment, we'll move on to the gap assessment, which means the gap assessment is very important thing. Gap assessment is nothing but to identify the current gap against the compliance, against the controls. So the compliance, once complete the gap assessment call, as an auditee, need to share the detailed gap summarized sheet report with and customer. So customer, when once complete the gap summarized sheet with customer, the next call will be scheduling with customer to discuss about the identified gaps and no gaps. Then next set of call will be scheduling with respect to organizations, policies and procedures. So one because policies and procedures is very important for compliance. So once complete the policies and procedures, then gap assessment call, as a consultant has will be collecting the evidences. Okay, so based on the gap assessment, gap summarized sheet, customer will be sharing the respective evidences to the compliance team. So the compliance team will be evaluating those evidences, whether it is sufficient or not sufficient, whether it is valid or not valid, whether the controls are placed effective or not effective. So evaluate the evidences very proper manner with the timestamps as well. Timestamp is very important here. So once complete the evidence validations, everything ready means we are good to go for internal audit. So the internal audit is nothing but it is a mock audit before conducting the external audit. Internal audit, so to identify the audit findings, whether it is conformities or non-conformities or OFIs, opportunities for improvements. So once complete the internal audit, we need to give the some time to close the audit findings issues, right? Which means NCs, which means non-conformities. So, like a customer will take some time to complete the audit activities. A few findings need some time, right? Which involves cost, right? Let's say example, if I'm an actor's internal auditor, right? I'll be giving the detailed internal audit report with customer. So the one of the findings related to the tools implementations with respect to BitLocker, which means encryption tool. So the organization maybe organization name A, right? In the A organizations, more than 500 employees are working in the sense. It will take too much cost to implement some tools, right? So they need to time. So in that case, as a consultant, you need to ask the ETA for the particular findings. You can follow up on regular basis based on the ETA. So whatever controls implement at the earliest means it's not an issue. It's not an issue. Like we can give the time and ask the evidences later on. And once complete the controls implementations based on internal audit findings, everything ready means will go to the external audit. So the external audit auditor will come from certification bodies. So certification, there are lots of certification bodies there, right? So as per my knowledge, the TUV, BSI, Intercert, and there are lots of certification bodies there. So certification body will conduct the external audit. Again, they are evaluating the like implemented controls, policies and procedures, process documents, real-time evidences, everything. So once complete the external audit, again the external auditing team will be sharing the external audit report along with certificate. So ISO 27001, it is a certification, but SOC 2 Type 2 is not a certification, it is the attestation report, more than 80 pages there. So based on compliance framework, the certification will be provided from certification body or respective stakeholders. And so this is the project uh, hierarchy or project plan for completing the compliance activities. So if you want to go with the compliance stream, you need to learn ISMS compliance and other compliances there. If you want to go with the risk management team, so definitely you need to understand about the ISO 31000 and other risk management activities. Or else if you want to go with all the risk management, compliance, everything means you can initiate understanding the basic concepts of GRC. Okay, what is GRC and what is risk management activities, how to conduct the risk assessment, and what are the risk treatment plan in the risk management activities, and how to conduct the internal audit, how to conduct the external audit. So there are lots of steps is there to complete the to achieve the governance, risk management, and compliance activities. So it is a very vast area. Uh, as you are beginner, if you are beginner means you can choose first GRC introduction of which means just a beginner level, then move on to the ISMS compliance, ISO 2000 2022 compliance. Guys, any doubts? Please unmute. If you have any queries, please let me know. I'm open to you. Certification is necessary for this node. I think not necessary. I think it's a recommendation only, right? Which means not mandatory. Let's say example, uh, if you are searching GRC related roles, right? Most of the organization checking the knowledge about the um, and GRC knowledge, not certifications, because um, some few certifications like the cost is very high nowadays, more than in Indian rupees, more than 40,000, 45,000 the certification cost. So if you are beginner means you can start with beginner level like GRC beginner level. Yeah, I think the team will be helping with you how to join the beginner role. Just knowledge, okay, how to join for beginner role. Yeah, beginner role in the sense most of the company has recruiting the intern. Intern is the on solutions and knowledge, GRC knowledge in as you mentioned, like you mentioned in that GRC knowledge about in your resume. Um, I think the probability is more. Actually, I have 1.5 years experience BAPD, but I want to change the mind. Yeah, it is very easy. Because already you have technical knowledge, right? It is very, very easy. If you know any GRC knowledge means it is very easy to communicate with the customers because the first step is the lead implementer, right? If you are do only audit means anyway, the customer asking the technical wise related questions as well. It is very easy to answer those questions with customers. So when you need to get certificate, change. ISO 27001, okay, and there's a GRC related courses, right? We are delivering the GRC related courses at the beginner level, so it is also helpful for you. How much this company for small company? I'm not sure now what the cost now. Actually, I did 2 years before, uh, but I'm not sure the cost, exact cost. First, we'll go with basics of GRCs. Then we'll go to the ISO 27001 and SOC 2 certification, because SOC 2 is the ISO 27001 contains more 93 controls, 93 controls in place. SOC 2 type 2 attestations also more than 300 controls in place. 300 controls place. So first to try to understand what is GRC, what are all the audit process in place, and then internal audit and external audit, what are all the compliance frameworks available, uh, available in that, let's say SOC, ISO 27001. In the privacy also there, ISO 27701 2025. So recently the ISO has been updated the privacy versions as well. So previously ISO 27701 2019 we use. So recently the ISO has been updated the latest version 2025. 2022 also has been will be updated at the earliest, which means ISO 27001. Yes, yes, I'll share the PPT. Don't go with advanced level in the, I think if you're beginner means don't go with advanced level. First we'll start with basic level. It will be helpful for you, like understand the controls, then clauses, implementations perspective. Once complete the basic level, we'll move on, like you can move on to the like create the roadmap. If you want to go with privacy, you can choose the privacy compliance. If you want to go with risk management, you can choose the risk management framework certificate. If you want to go with general compliance activities like ISO 27001 and other activities, SOC 2 type 2, you can like pick the exact certifications. So in the beginning, don't go with advanced levels. Yeah. Thank you, Tim. Thank you for your time.